Hello, everyone. My name is Lou Longmire, and I want to welcome you to Unity Spiritual Center of Central Minnesota here in Sartell. I'm very excited to see you and very excited to have you here and to share this message with you that you're about to hear. Right now, you and I are sitting on a lake shore, and you can tell that the water is still covered with ice. It's receding a little bit. It is melting. It's springtime, and it's getting ever so close, and it's ever so exciting. The birds are starting to chirp. You can probably hear them in the background, and you might hear a goose honking every now and then. There's a couple of geese sitting right over here. So it's just a wonderful time to be in Minnesota and to really experience this resurgence of life. And we talked last week about how it was the equinox, and how the equinox really signals springtime, and how things are starting to percolate and things are starting to really come to life, and we're really starting to see that out here right now. So it's a very fun time to be in Minnesota. So today's service really was designed to be a celebration of the Beatles music. And so you'll notice that in this service today, we're going to have a little surprise from the Beatles. So I hope you'll enjoy that. The message that I have for you is coming up, and I just want to share with you that I'm excited to be here and excited to have this for you, and look forward to seeing you again next week. So sit back and buckle your seatbelts and enjoy the message. And I'll see you afterwards on the backside. All right. With you. Today, this particular Sunday, happens to be a Sunday that was supposed to be a Beatles Sunday. We were going to be playing Beatles music and having all kinds of fun with the Beatles. So right off the bat, I want to start with some Beatles lyrics, and hopefully they're going to make sense to you. So I'm going to tune up my voice. Maybe you can tune up your voice too. And if this tune sounds familiar, you can just sing along. You ready? Here we go. If I fell in love with you, would you promise to be true and help me understand? 'Cause I've been in love before, and I found that love was more than just holding hands. Do 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 do. Remember that one? How about this one? Love, love me do. You know I love you. I'll always be true. So please, love me do. Oh, I can just hear the TV sets snapping off right now. The computers are just switching to something else. You're going to, you know. Just stick with me. Here we go. I love you, I love you, I love you. That's all I want to say. Then till I find a way, I will say the words I know that you will understand. Michel, ma belle, j'en vais voir son frère, j'en vais manger. I don't know French. And then there's the song that the Beatles sang that really makes the most sense for us for today, and you'll understand why. It's all about love. It's really all about love. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. There's nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Oof. Nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. There's nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. Ready, everybody? Sing along. All you need is love. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love. Love is all you need. Well, let me tell you why that's particularly important. Did you like my little Beatles rendition there? Oh my God. I was never in a choir. I don't know if you knew that or not. Well, I have a philosophy about this new thought the New Thought philosophy. And that is, when it comes to the teachings that Jesus gave or did, it's really all about love. It's all about loving your neighbor and understanding love of self and love of God and love of your fellow man. And it's really all about love. I got into a discussion with somebody in this very room. I'm at my day job, by the way, the job that I call it my daylighting job. Not my moonlighting job, but my daylighting job. My moonlighting job is talking with you folks and standing up in front of audiences of thousands of people and just having a ball talking to them about things that are spiritual and things that are inspirational and motivational. It's what winds my clock, and I really love to do it, and I love to share these messages and to an audience that is a receptive audience. And I know that's you, because I know you're in the right place, or else you wouldn't be listening to this. So in this very room, we got into a discussion here a couple of weeks ago about this business of new thought, and one of the people here was asking me, what is unity? They were asking me what church I go to, and I was describing to them, trying to describe to them what unity was, new thought, and especially the Wikipedia definition of new thought. Here's what it says. I've got my computer screen right here. It says, new thought holds that infinite intelligence, or God, is everywhere. Makes sense? Spirit is a totality of real things. True human selfhood is divine. We believe that. The divine thought is a force for good. Sickness originates in the mind. Makes perfect sense to me. And right thinking has a healing effect. Imagine that. Although new thought is neither monolithic nor doctrinaire, I love that. We're not monolithic. We don't have one solid single school of thought, and if you don't buy that or don't believe in that, you can't be a member of the club. That's not what new thought is. Nor is it doctrinaire, meaning we don't have a doctrine. We don't have a set of beliefs that you have to, subscribe to and study and get tested on and believe. You have to believe those thoughts, or else you're not going to get in the club. We don't have that. In general, modern day adherents to new thought share some very core beliefs, however, and these core beliefs are very similar to our unity principles. Number one, God or infinite intelligence is supreme, universal, and everlasting. Two, divinity dwells within each person. This is New Thought Wikipedia. And that all people are spiritual beings. And number three, the highest spiritual principle, loving one another unconditionally and teaching and healing one another, is the highest principle that we can attain. It's perfect. It's just perfect. So I had them look at this. I had them read this and look at this. And we got into this really wonderful discussion. And of course, most of the people here come from the traditional Catholic or evangelical Christian backgrounds. And so we got into this really wonderful discussion. And one guy who sits in this very room, happens to be, by the way, because of the quarantining and the work from home thing, I'm in this room all alone right now, so that's why I get to talk about this stuff with you. He brought up the point, well, you guys just pick the verses and the thoughts from the Bible that fit your message, and you ignore the rest of them. Well, of course, anybody can do that. And at first I was kind of offended because I've heard that before, and I didn't know how to come back. I didn't know how to respond to that. His commentary was, well, sure. I mean, if you pick those verses and those phrases from the Bible that support what you're saying, well, you can believe just about anything you want to. And I thought about it, and it wasn't until the next day or so that it dawned on me, well, yeah, of course, because that's what you do. That's what the Catholics did. That's what the Lutherans do. That's what everybody does. That's what all... Does the term the Council of Nicaea mean anything to you? In Rome, the Roman emperor who became a Christian got together with 300 of the fellow clergy people around the Roman Empire. Now remember, this is the Roman Empire, so it hadn't been that long since these people were pagan worshippers of these crazy cloud gods and the god of thunder and the god of rocks and all of these crazy gods and all of these crazy spiritual ideas. These were pagans who all of a sudden had become Christians. So they had come out of that background, thousands of years, or 1,000 years or so of that sort of spiritual grounding. Hold that thought. Got to take this. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right away. Yep. Yep. Right away. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll be looking forward to that. All right. Thanks. Bye. I am at work, you know. So, where were we? What are we talking about? So, in this Council of Nicaea, what they did is they got together and they picked the things that they liked. They picked the things that worked for the belief system and the structure that they had, that they wanted to go with, and they eliminated and threw out those that didn't. So that whole process has been going on since the beginning. But that's not even the important part. The important part is if you look at the Bible, if you read the Bible metaphysically, if you look at it from a metaphysical point of view, the stories in there are all about you, and they're all about me, and they're all about the world that we live in even today on a metaphysical level. And you can pull the meaning out of those stories, each one of them. And really, when you listen to the stories that Jesus told, the vast majority of the time, it always boils down to love. It's all about love. Love is all there is. Love is what it's all about. You know, how many times in the Bible do we see the verse that says, God is love, love is God, God is love? Again, that comes up in Luke several times. Or 1 John chapter 4. The one who does not love does not know God, because God is love. Over and over again we read in the Bible, in the New Testament, God is love. It's all about love. And Jesus told that story. And one of my favorite stories, and I'm going to share it with you here in a minute, is the story of the Good Samaritan. I love that story because it so perfectly outlines the philosophy of you really can live the life that you want to live, but just understand that if you want to live a righteous life and live a spiritual life, you have to live a life filled with love. So I went out to one of my job sites today, and while I was out at this job site, I got this inspiration to tell you this story. So the story, the particulars of the story are accurate. It's the story that Jesus told about the Good Samaritan when he was talking to the crowd of people. But if you really listen to the details, if you dig into the details, it has so much more meaning. And it's such a beautiful a parable about what Jesus was trying to say. It all boils down to just this simple, simple message. It's really all about love. So imagine that there's this hillside and you see this big crowd of people, and there's Jesus right in the middle of them, and he's talking to them and he's preaching to them and he's working miracles and everybody's having a great time, and he's teaching them these pearls of wisdom. And this is, by the way, this is in the book of Luke, the 10th chapter of the book of Luke. And there's this guy there that happens to be a Pharisee. Now, if you don't know what Pharisees were sort of like the legal scholars of the Jewish religion. And they were very smart and very knowledgeable in the old ways and the history and the technicalities of the Jewish religion. And he was there listening to Jesus, and he was really trying to find something to trick him on, trying to find something to trick him up on so they could use it against him. And he was listening to Jesus, and he turned to Jesus and he said, "Let me ask you this. What is it a guy needs to do in order to get into heaven? What does a guy need to do to make it into the life, the hereafter?" And Jesus said to him, "Well, what does it say in your book? What does your teaching say?" meaning the Jewish religion. And the guy said, well, it says very clearly in the scriptures, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your body, with everything you have. And love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus said to him, well, then go and do that and you'll be okay. And then the guy said to him, well, what do you mean, what does it mean by your neighbor? Now, you don't understand that in those days, the Jewish people were very particular about who their neighbors were. And they didn't want to just befriend anybody, and that was okay to do that. They were living a tribal life, and you didn't just befriend and make friends with everybody. You kind of hung out with your own clan, your own people, and you were sort of secluded that way. And so it wasn't really common for people to reach outside their clan. So that's why he was saying, well, what do you mean by your neighbor? And Jesus said, well, let me tell you this story. Picture this road from Jerusalem down the street to, Galilee maybe. And on this road, this guy's walking along and he gets beat up by robbers. They grab him and they beat him up and they throw him in the ditch, and he's bloodied and he's left for dead, and there he is on the side of the road. And then a short time later, well, sure enough, a Pharisee comes walking along the road. Maybe it was a Pharisee or a Sadducee. I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but one of the high officers of the Jewish faith comes walking along the road and sees the guy lying in the ditch and passes him by. Doesn't want to touch him, doesn't want to get dirty, doesn't want to bother himself with this guy lying in the ditch, so passes him by. And a little while later, there is a Levite who walks down the path. Now, Levites were members of the Jewish faith who weren't really the high priests, but they were the administrators in the Jewish faith. They were important. They were important people, but they were like mid-level officials. And so the Levite came by and saw the guy lying in the ditch, didn't do anything, kept walking on by. And then lo and behold, this third guy came walking by who happened to be a Samaritan. Now, what you may not know about the significance of that is that the Samaritans were very different from the Jews. I encourage you to Google this. Go on the Google machine and Google this. 1,000 years before Jesus' time, some say 700 years, 800 years, 1,000 years before the time of Jesus even, there was a split in the Jewish, in the people who lived in Israel and in Judah. They were captured and sent into slavery, and some of those people turned out to be what we call the Samaritans. And they were very different than the people who are what we call today the Jews. And the Samaritans actually had their own temple. They had their own version of the Jewish faith, their own Torah or their own Pentateuch, their own book, their own beliefs. And they even were willing to buy into some of the local pagan beliefs and use some of the pagan gods. And so the stalwart Jews that stayed in the land of Israel, the land of Judah, they didn't like the Samaritans. They thought they were low people and heathens and dirty and not worthy of even talking to. And they scowled at them, and they were just the lowest of the low. And so that's why Jesus decided to pick a Samaritan as the one who came walking by the path. And so this Samaritan comes walking down the path and sees the guy lying in the dirt and lying bloodied in the side of the road. And the Samaritan picks the guy up and treats his wounds, anoints him with oil, washes his wounds with oil, bandages him, puts him on his own donkey, and takes him to the closest place he could find, which was this inn. And he says to the innkeeper, he says, do what you can to fix this guy up. Do what you can to take care of this guy, and treat him well, and bandage him, and serve him the finest wines you have and the finest food. Really heal him up. And I'm going to come back through here in a couple of days. And he gave him some money, and he said, hopefully this will cover it. If it doesn't cover it, let me know. I'll pay the difference when I come back the next time. You just take care of this guy because he needs your help. And then the Samaritan went on his way. So Jesus told that story. And then Jesus looked up to the Pharisee and said, now, which one of the three who passed by the guy lying bloodied in the ditch, which one of those three do you think was the better neighbor? And the Pharisee looked at him and he said, well, the one who took care of him, of course. And Jesus said, then go and do that, and you'll make it into heaven. You know, you don't need to go wear the fancy pointy hat and wear the red robes and, you know, start this big cathedral, and you don't need to have all this religious doctrine and all this fancy stuff and all of these books and all of this religious, all this stuff that you have to go through to make it into heaven, and, you know, believe this and don't believe that, and dip the thing in the wine and dip the wine. No, that's not what it was. It was so simple. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. Take care of your fellow human beings like the guy lying in the ditch. Do that. You do that, and you're going to make it into heaven. It's that simple. That's the story of the Good Samaritan, and that's why I think it's just so beautiful and it's so simple. It's without pomp, it's without circumstance, and Jesus just told this very simple story about loving your neighbor. It's all about love. Love is all you need. There you go. So that's really the message. The message is it's all about love. Jesus was just saying, you know, it's not complicated. It's not easy sometimes. It's not easy to love your neighbor as yourself. It's not easy to find the guy that you really despise in the office, or, you know, there's some friction that you're having somewhere with somebody, and to just love them, to see the God in them, and to know that the God in them is just as valid and just as beautiful as the God in you. That's not easy, but that's what he was talking about, is love. Love. It's all about love. It's all about love. It's that simple. If you take care of that, if you can handle that, you can make it into the pearly gates. You can make it into the kingdom of heaven, which, by the way, is within. So, there you have it. That's the message for today. That's the Beatles message for today. I started looking at the Beatles songs and how many songs that they had that talked about love and what it means to be in love, and love, love me do. And of course, I got to take more French lessons. So, there you have it. This is Unity, Central Minnesota. I almost said Unity of Central Valley. I lived in California in the Central Valley for a long time. This isn't Unity of Central California. This is Unity of Central Minnesota, Unity Spiritual Center in Sartell. And we're so glad that you're here. And listen, I encourage you to go to the website. Go to the Unity website, and you can check out other activities, and you can check out other video talks. There's one from Barbara there, I know, from a couple weeks ago, and mine is there from last week, and there may be some others. And you can check out what's happening at Unity and check out where we are and see some of the activities. So I'd encourage you to go to the Unity website, and also notice down in the lower left-hand corner, or I guess it would be the lower right-hand corner as you're looking at the screen, you're going to see this little box. This little box is the donate box. Unity is a self-supporting organization, and we really are dependent upon your contributions. And if there's something that you heard today that struck you and that really touched your sensibilities and made sense to you, I would really encourage you to put that into action and donate to this organization, because the Unity Central Minnesota would be very appreciative. And we use those donations to further the message and to further this incredible organization and this incredible spiritual center. So please, if you're called to do so, please donate. And here's an example of how you can do it. Just go to the website and push that little button that you see. With a love like that, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, sorry, I was just getting carried away with my Beatles medley there. Wasn't that fun? That was kind of fun. We had a little tour of the Beatles catalog, and I took you to my office, and also took you out to a job site. And there on that job site, you got to hear the story of the Good Samaritan, but you also got to see in the background, they were actually tearing down a building so that they could make a new building. And isn't that a phenomenal metaphor for life, and maybe even for what's happening with this whole coronavirus thing? You know, we really have to tear down the way we're thinking and get rid of the old way of thinking and get rid of the old, and then build something new. And maybe that's why we're all sort of huddled away in our quarantine right now because we're in the process of building something new. At least that's the way I like to look at it. And I know that we're healthy and that we're doing the things that we need to be doing, and I'm excited to share this message with you. So I'd like to have us do a meditation right now. So with that in mind, I'm going to ask, wherever you're sitting right now, wherever you might happen to be, you can go within, close your eyes, get comfortable in your chair, get comfortable with wherever you're sitting or wherever you're finding yourself right now. And breathe. Just a few deep, cleansing breaths. And with every inhalation, breathing in love and peace and sanctuary. And with every exhalation, you're exhaling stress and green energy and all the things that you want to say goodbye to during the course of this week that you've just had. So breathe in and exhale. Exhale all that green energy. It's not necessary anymore. We don't need it anymore. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. Just sit there quietly. Just relax for a moment in this quiet moment. And see yourself sitting on the side of a lake in the middle of a beautiful summer's day. And you hear the birds chirping around you, maybe a fish jumping in the water every now and then. And you feel so close and so connected with the world that you live in, with nature. You hear the crickets. You hear the toads, you hear the bugs buzzing by. You are just right in the middle of this incredible, abundant, prosperous world that we live in. It's all around you. God's generosity and abundance is swirling all about you. And there, as you sit quietly by the lake, you take a moment to appreciate the connection that you have with your divine source. And you know that that divine energy is coursing through you. It is you. It is confirming that you are healthy and alive and radiant, and all of your red blood cells and white blood cells are doing exactly the job that they need to do in the perfectly abundant supply. Your bodily organs, your joints, your skin, your lungs are all functioning perfectly as they were intended. You are in radiant health. You feel that energy coursing through your body. Oh yeah, it feels so good. And there you are, reveling in that joyous feeling as you quietly connect with that incredible sense of divine energy flowing through you. Welcome you back into whatever room you may be sitting in, into whatever place you may be present in. Just welcome you back. And on your own time, you can open your eyes and be here with me, and be here with your fellow Unity travelers as we all travel through this incredible adventure together. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for tuning in. And I'm excited about the possibilities for next week. We're going to do a video for next week as well, a video presentation for the website. So join us again, won't you? I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad that you're here too. Have a great week. Have a safe week. We'll see you next time.